5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-host and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts from the previous week. We get together here at our gracious podcast host, BC's Bottle Lodge, Montgomery, and, you know, we talk about things. And hopefully there aren't any or too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows. So far, so good. Thank you all for coming out to Truth Beer Pod Live. My supervisor made it out here today. Hello, Rachel. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I am Marco. I am a brewer and a bartender here locally, and I am going to introduce the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
Hi, guys. I am Julia, and I drink all the beers. The craft beers in Cincinnati, and I also like to write funny things about the Higher Gravity Beer Vent calendar during beer vent season, which is coming up. If you have not bought your beer vent box yet, do so. It is on sale now at Higher Gravity Craft House, HAUS.com. I don't know what's so funny about that, but hey, you know, it's all good. No, we love our studio audience tonight. This is absolutely amazing. All sales through the end of July get a pint glass that is designed by Scott Hand. If you love Urban Artifacts art, you will love this glass. So get your orders in. Once the beer vent calendars sell out, they are gone. So September, November, when you say, man, I really want one of those, too bad, so sad, they're going to give you a big middle finger and say you should have ordered them early. So get those orders in. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. If you like our show, please like, subscribe, review, share, all that good stuff. Follow us on social media at Truth Beer Pod. Email us any ideas, comments, sponsorship opportunities.
Yes.
truthbeerpod@gmail.com. If you'd like to monetarily donate to the show, truthbeerpod.com has a big blue support us link. And for our 1-year anniversary, podcast anniversary show, Blocks Spiked Ice has sponsored
Thank you,
this
Blocks.
episode. Thank you, Blocks. They dropped off.
Blocks.
They dropped off a big old blocks of blocks. We have so much blocks. I am just kind of beside myself with their generosity. Cannot thank them enough. And they're another local Cincinnati company, so we are still supporting local. So if you have not had blocks, they're in Kroger's locations. They're in all kinds of the local bars around town. Check them out. Get a blocks by itself. Drop it in a lager for an extra punch of flavor. They're great. We put them in beers that we probably shouldn't put them in.
We've done that before.
Several times.
Everyone of legal drinking age is getting a Blocks tonight.
Hell yeah. All right. So this is
Thank you, sir.
This is a podcast about Cincinnati Craft Beer Podcasts. So Marco, did you happen to listen to the following podcast this week?
Okay.
We have, let's get ready to drink, the Cincinnati Brewcast.
Ah, yes.
Got a drink when I mispronounce or misstate that podcast name. All right, we got that one. We also have the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast.
I did. I listened to that one.
We have Craft Parenting Podcast, a bonus episode that was released this week.
Yep.
Awesome. And Shift Beers.
Of course.
One of the most fun podcasts to recap. What do you want to start with?
I want to start with Craft Parenting Pod.
All right, let me flip my notes. Because as you know, I take extremely detailed notes of all of the craft beer podcasts because otherwise I won't remember a damn thing about what I listen to.
All my notes right up here, right in between these things.
My notes aren't laminated. My pre-production meeting show notes are. Huge shout out to post-producer Jason of the show who is heading out.
Yay.
Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for
Again,
stopping
Higher
by.
Gravity, support them, buy stuff from them, get your beer vent calendars. And he will text us after we post this episode about everything that we messed up on Saturday. So apologies in advance.
He agreed.
All right, Craft Parenting Podcast, episode 68.5, the one with, and I'm not going to pronounce this right no matter how hard I try, Hefeweizen beers.
Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizens.
Hefeweizen. They got into a lot about,
Hefeweizen.
no matter how we say it, we're going to do it wrong. So
That's our truth.
it's our truth, and that's what we're going to stick with. They drank some Hefes from High Grain Brewing, Alexandria Brewing, and Sonder Brewing. I don't believe they had any of these beers before, so it was a new
Can't
to
believe
them.
they didn't have any West Side?
No, it's not out in cans yet. Well, it was a while back, but it wasn't readily
They
available.
just had to make
so-
mention about the West Side.
I know.
Again.
Hey, West Side, Best Side. I'm sorry, how does that go? West Side, Best Side. There you go.
Way to go, Caroline.
Who has left Joe at home with the children tonight. So, Joe, this is kind of what you get for, for turning in your man card with the pours that you had for your beers during this episode.
They got
Apparently,
crocked.
yes, they got a little bit fuzzy headed. They called the drunk line the shit beers drunk line.
I don't know anybody who's ever done that.
No. Well, I know a couple of celebrities that have called the shit beers drunk line, but we'll get to that when we. Marco knows people, okay?
Yeah.
He knows people.
Connected.
Craft Parenting Podcast. Let's get back to this one.
Okay.
Craft Parenting Podcast always does a really good job of being educational about the beers that they drink. So there was a really good section about what a Hefeweizen actually is, the difference between a Hefeweizen and other common styles, wit beers, ales, that
American
kind of thing.
wheats.
American wheat beers, absolutely. Apparently, throwing a rock into the wort
Hot Stones,
is an acceptable method to brew beer.
also one of my nicknames in high school.
Which one? Hot rock? Stones?
Hot Stones.
Oh my. They did reveal pretty early on that the entire episode was recorded in typical Bavarian garb. Although no one could
Yeah.
see it, so I'm not entirely sure why they felt the need to dress up. But if that's their role play, if that's what gets them going for the night, hey, we don't judge.
No,
we
not at all.
do not judge.
Not at all. Matter of fact, we're dressed the same way
I know. I'm wearing my
Right now.
lederhosen right now. It's awesome.
right now.
Let's see. Joe outpoured, or I'm sorry. Oh, he did outpour Caroline. I can't even read my own handwriting here. His head was always better than her head.
Yeah.
So that kind of turned into
That's
a
their
CPP after dark kind of thing, I felt like. Don't know if they meant to turn the recording off there. There was a really cool fact that I didn't know. Christian Moorline was the first brewery in the States that was certified for the Reinheitsgebot, blah, 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 as I completely skip over my own. Reinheitsgebot, which is the traditional German brewing.
The purity law.
The purity, exactly. I did not know that that was all Christian Moor. Well, I don't say all Christian Moorline, but that they were the first. That was a really cool learning nugget for my. Was it Hudipol?
Hudipol.
Okay, nice. Okay. So the Hudipol brand, appreciate that. So producer David is here. Okay, so Hudipol was the brewery that made the beer. Christian Moorline is the brand. Producer David is fact-checking us as we go. Really appreciate you doing that. Do you need a laminated show sheet to write stuff down on for us? Okay, I have one. It's I think it's either at the end of the table or in my case. So we'll. Perfect. Caroline mentioned that she is a certified project manager. Does that make you a pimp? The PMP? Not the PMP? Okay, because I always love seeing PMP behind someone's name and saying they're a certified pimp. So I wanted to make sure
Hell yeah.
I gave you the proper accolades for what you're doing.
There's going to be a lot of I's inserted.
I don't know.
A lot of I's
heard
inserted in the
about me.
PMP. All right. And then to kind of close up the recap, how do you pronounce Hefeweizen? Hefeweizen. Is there a right way? Is it kind of like craft? What is craft? What is the proper way to pronounce Hefeweizen? Hefeweizen.
But and then you have to like move your eyebrows up and down when you do it. Hefeweizen.
So I do want to say I apologize to Matt Damaris, who could not be here tonight, for always giving him a whole bunch of shit about mispronouncing Hefeweizen, because apparently none of us ever say it correctly. So I can't throw shade anymore.
Yeah, it's
really
like
can't.
pecan and pecan, right?
Or Caribbean or Caribbean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was corrected about the pecan thing when I was down in North Carolina.
Pecans
So
are what
it's
truckers
pecan?
use.
I ordered the pecan rum, and he said, "Oh, you want the pecan rum?" And I said, "Oh, yeah,
Nope, the pecan rum.
pecan rum because that's evidently I did this wrong." And he's like, "Well, you know the difference between pecans and pecans.
No.
I do.
What's the difference?
$3 a pound.
Boom.
So pecans are just a fancy way of saying pecan."
Well,
Yeah.
all right. We are learning all kinds of stuff tonight.
This is great.
This is
podcast.
I know.
This
So,
is-
so producer David has just educated us on the difference between
You okay?
pecans and pecans. It's $3 a pound.
Get Coney stuck.
So this was a really fun episode of Craft Parenting Podcast. I really like their more educational episodes to where they dig into a specific style. And they also had a couple beers already when they started this one. So
They
it
did.
kind of escalated that level of fun a bit. So really loved it. And
was.
Caroline is here tonight. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your podcast, your support.
Yes, thank you for your
And for putting up
podcast
with
and
us,
support.
making fun of you week after week. We do it because we love you.
That's right.
All right. Well, you know what? I just realized
What's that?
we are a craft beer podcast and we didn't say a damn thing about what we're drinking.
Oh, well, we wouldn't be a good one if we weren't drinking craft
Yeah.
beer.
So-
But we are. We are drinking craft beer. I don't know if we're a good
Yes.
podcast. But what are
No.
you drinking?
I am drinking Dorothy's New World Lager. I forget who it's by. It's a California Common, which is a steam beer. And it is really, really good.
Toppling Goliath.
Toppling Goliath. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
And
you?
I am having the premium pills from Pipeworks.
And that is on Slow Pour.
I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. I've said the problem is I've said the joke before, so I'm gonna leave
All
it
right.
alone. Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
there you go.
There we go. All right, what do you want to move on to next? I say we go to the Brews Traveler Outcast podcast.
Sure.
All right, let's do it. I actually had a real name count for them because they have it's not really a drinking game. It's kind of a, air quotes, punishment for saying their actual names instead of their Brews Traveler names. And whenever they say their real names, they take a drink. In this episode, they said real names 7 different times.
Okay.
So we may have to start keeping track of that a little bit.
And the Brews Travelers were
The Brews Travelers in episode 18 at Esoteric Brewing, The Wolf Returns, Quick Trip, The Brews Traveler himself, Beer is Not for Boys, and C-Ray.
C-Ray. Yep.
Yep, and I do have to say, we need more from Beer is Not for Boys. Her voice is an incredibly important one that we need to have more of in this community. She did talk a little bit about, just life getting in the way and not having time to do stuff. So hopefully she's going to start doing some blogging and hopefully getting back into the podcast at some point because the few episodes that she released were absolutely phenomenal, and we need more of those in our sphere.
Yep.
All right,
Julia,
so-
have you been to Esoteric?
I have. I've been there a couple times, and it is delicious, but I always feel that I'm underdressed, and I am always afraid that I'm going to spill beer on, the velvet seats that
like
they
the
have.
banquettes?
Yes.
Like the
yes. The
half moon, the
chaises.
semicircle
It is
banquettes?
so gorgeous, but my God, it's like I'm afraid to mess up while I'm in there, even though they never make you feel
No.
that
No.
it's you walk in and you think, my God, I'm in a high-class, high-end establishment, but they don't make you feel at all like
The
you
only
need
thing
to have a dress code, anything like that.
The only thing that really frustrated me when I
Mm-hmm.
went to Esoteric was the beginning of it, which is I parked behind Esoteric and I had to take a photo of, I don't know, my license plate, and then I had to text the thing and pay for something. And it was like 12 minutes that I was sitting there in Esoteric just trying to figure out how to pay. That's a me problem. That's not a them problem. I totally admit that. But after that 12 minutes, I really enjoyed myself. I enjoyed the beers. What do you
Marco,
mean half the breweries in the city?
They're-
I've never
they're
had to do
parking
that
up?
at Sonder.
Well,
Not gonna happen that
Marco
often.
is getting all kinds of crap from
gonna
everyone
happen
here
that
in the audience about how he doesn't have parking apps, which makes things so easy. So easy.
No.
Yeah, I think I have 4 or 5 parking apps for the different areas around town that
Okay.
require parking to pay. But
That's cool.
yeah, Esoteric's a great place to go to. Back to this episode of the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast. They did talk a bit about Esoteric's dress code, and you don't need one, but you kind of feel like you should have one when you walk in. They also talked about Esoteric's beer board, like their tap listing,
Right.
and how it doesn't seem to fit the aesthetic of the place.
That was the one thing that they did make mention of
Yeah.
that really seemed out of place. Like one of these things is not like the others. The way that they have their draft list really didn't match the aesthetic of the decor.
But by the same token, the Wolf and I think it might have been Beer Is Not for Boys said that they never even noticed that until it was mentioned, where Brews Traveler and Quick Trip both said that's one of the first things that they noticed when they walked in was they could do so much more with how they displays the beers that are on tap.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess I'm from Kentucky now, how they display the beers that are on tap.
It's like the Kroger's and Myers.
Kroger's and Myers. Is that a Kroger and Meyer?
Saunders.
Yeah. Yep. Parks, displays. One of the cool parts about the Outcast podcast, they let you know about all the breweries that are within a 5-mile radius.
Took them a half an hour.
It took them about half an hour to go over them all, so I'll just narrow that down to you. There are 10 different breweries within 3 miles of Esoteric as the crow flies, which is very important to say.
Right.
Because according to their circular radius of breweries, Darkness Brewing is well within that 5 miles.
Yeah, but you gotta
to
cross
get
the
there, you have to
river.
cross the river, which is very much a mental block
Not
for
gonna
anyone
happen.
traveling to different breweries in the
Not gonna
area.
happen.
They did not have a brewery rep this episode. Another segment that the Brews Traveler Outcast podcast typically has is a section where they talk to someone from the brewery and let them know about things like how many parking spaces do you have, how many, or do you have event space, are you kid friendly, do you have food on site. So the Brews Travelers tried to cover all of that themselves, which is pretty cool. They knew enough about the brewery to
Yeah.
give a very good recap. So if you're curious about Esoteric Brewing and everything they offer, this is definitely the episode for you to listen to.
Yeah, and Diamond's lives very close
Mm-hmm.
and has even emceed events there. So having Diamond on was as close as you're going to get to
Having a brewery rep from
having a
Esoteric.
brewery
Hell
rep.
yeah.
If you couldn't have a brewery rep.
Right, oh, absolutely, absolutely. Let's see, what other things were there in this episode? There was a really, really cool part that actually took up probably the last 15 to 20 minutes of the episode about going into a new place and just walking in with confidence and knowing that you belong there, even if it's somewhere new that you feel like maybe it's not your space. And I'll use the dress code as an example. I'm a t-shirt and jeans person. The first time I walked into Esoteric, I thought, this is not where I should be. This isn't, I don't fit in here. But as they put it very, very well, I drink beer, they serve beer, so therefore, yes, I belong here.
Yeah.
Go in with confidence and know that you belong anywhere that you want to belong and own it. And
Yeah.
then you end up shutting the place down. Then they closed down this episode the way they normally do. They talked about the beers that they drank during the show, and they ranked them in using the 1 to 5 untapped scale. I don't think any of the beers that they drank were below a 4, but they also talked a lot about beers that weren't currently available, which I feel like kind of skewed this part a little bit, but
Right, they
also
were
fit in.
clamoring for pumpkin beer, and this was like a month ago.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's a live show, folks.
Oh my god, that was great. Yes. So wait until our Shift Beers recap, and you will find out exactly what this laugh break was all about. But no, this was a really good episode. It was about 50 minutes long, so not something that'll take up a lot of your time.
Right.
And again, if you are interested in Esoteric Brewing, if you have not been there yet, what's wrong with you? I don't know why you haven't checked this place out yet. It's amazing. Beers are fantastic. The space is fantastic. This will answer all of your questions about that brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and places around it.
Yeah, for sure. All the breweries within 5 miles and a whole bunch that are within 3 miles as the crow flies.
That's right. So get out there, and if you, personally, I would be chauffeured.
Yes, Marco will need a
I
driver.
wouldn't drive myself. And
So how
again,
did you? So when you went, how did you get there? You'll drive there. You just won't park. How did you
I
get
did
there
it
when
once.
you
I was
went?
very nervous. I was a wreck.
Okay, as long as you didn't have a wreck.
I did not.
Okay,
Not
good,
then.
good. Not that particular trip,
Not that
but maybe
particular
another
time.
trip.
Yes,
Jeez.
another trip.
All right. Anything else on the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast?
Listen, follow, support.
Absolutely. All right. What do you say we move on to? Do you need to drink or
Always.
are you good? All right.
No, I have plenty.
Well, no, I didn't
For
say do
now.
you need a new drink. I said, did you need to drink because we're about to cover the Cincinnati Brewcast.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Everyone drink. They're young.
All right, Cincy Brewcast, and this is going to be a fun one for us to cover because it's about BC's Bottle Lodge and how they are changing, which is going to, I don't want to say impact us, but we are going to have more of a, we're going to notice a lot of those changes more than someone that only comes here on occasion.
Right.
Producer Caleb and producer Brian from BC's were the guests on this episode. They were out at the Liberty location, so not here in Montgomery. And the gnome was talking to the owners of BC's Brewing Company. If that doesn't let the cat out of the bag right there.
BC's Brewing Company.
BC's Brewing Company. So cheers to them. I am very excited. They are going to be moving out of the retail space and into the brewing space, which is going to be really, really cool. They said they're the only tap room right now that has permanent side pull taps, so for all of your slow pour needs. I believe that Sonder had some temporarily. Well, High Grain has
I think that's
one.
fake.
Well,
That's fake
temporary
news.
tap room. Fake news? Okay. Well,
They're the only
bottle shop. Okay. I don't know. Do bars fall under bottle shops? So for right now, we're going to say they're the only bottle shop that has a slow pour tap.
Yeah.
While producer Brian and Josh from Shift Beers are trying to determine, does that count bars or is it just tap rooms or, bottle shops? We need more. We absolutely need more.
Right.
Producer Dave. Oh my God, we don't know who's saying what anymore. There was a very, very interesting conversation about Old Nas X and
Yeah.
who Old Nas X
Old Nas
actually
X.
is.
Yes.
If you like Lil Nas X and you're interested to see who Old Nas X
Old
is
Nas
or
X.
who is going into the Old Nas X space, definitely listen to this episode because that was...
Well, they also took about 15 minutes to talk about how exceptionally exquisite their palate was.
This is true.
We spent years just honing in our palates.
Basically, they were drinking the beers that the brewery reps were bringing in, and that's how they developed their air quote palates. Is that what we're saying here?
It sounded so pompous.
We're gonna get kicked out of here. We're gonna need to find a new place to record after this comes
I
out.
appreciate that, but they really just it's like, no, my palate, our palates, amazing palates,
so
the best palates.
the
It's
best
not
palates ever.
not my words, other people's words. I have the best palate.
That's accurate. That sounded exactly like producer Brian, who is not here to defend himself. So
He's
I'm
supposed
running
to-
with it.
he's
He was supposed to be
here.
here.
He's supposed
He's
to be
not.
here.
Therefore, this is on him.
No, but our palates. Brian and Caleb, our palates are
He
amazing.
probably is going to
Amazing.
listen to this episode to see what we say about him, but normally, no.
Yeah, he only listens
This
when
is
he's
true.
on.
He only listens when he's on the show. So Gnome actually revealed one of his major complaints about BC's, which is a complaint that I think you and I also share.
Right.
It is that the bar stools are too high and all your legs do is swing when you're sitting on them. It makes you feel like a child drinking your beer. And if they can just lower some of the tables, lower some of the bar stools so you feel like an adult when you're drinking your beer, all problems would be solved.
I'd fire Cintas because someone needs to, give this place a little fresh scent.
Well, but that's another problem. Not that was on the podcast, but the fresh scent that sometimes impacts the palate
Yeah,
that
that's
they
true.
say. So are they tasting the beer or are they tasting the cleaner?
The Fabuloso?
The Fabuloso.
Yeah. Just stay away from the Fabuloso.
All right, let's get back to this episode and more about how BC's Bottle Lodge is changing. When they move over to just a brewery, it's going to be a mix of their own beers and guest taps because they have a whole bunch of taps at both locations, and they're not going to start out with making 20 different beers. So you will still be able to get guest beers, local beers on tap here. There just will not be that retail piece to it.
They want to be able to provide their version of what they feel are great beers and then round out their tap list, at least in the beginning. Because all of this we know is probably subject to change.
Oh, absolutely,
as
yeah,
they find their way, right?
Right, for sure,
and their
for
voice.
sure.
And I think they also struggle to actually translate to the audience what it is their voice or their mark is actually going to be, other than, hey, we're going to provide great beer in the styles that we pick and round out our tap list with other things that we're able to procure. But the package is going to go away because it has to when you switch to producing.
And that's all just licensing, legalese kind of requirements, not
Right.
something that they're saying we just don't want other people's cans in our space, correct?
They should have a beer that you can just block.
Producer David has his arm up. He has either a
blocks.
question or a statement. Producer David, please educate me more because
I got the impression that they were
You know, that mic's...
no.
do you have somebody that can bring it over? I got the impression.
I mean,
You guys can repeat my question in the microphones. I got the impression that what they were saying is that they were going to be way more like traditional styles, like the things that kind of made this industry what it is. You know, just traditional things, normal-ish.
right. So the impression was that what BC's is going to do is focus on more of the traditional styles, but then allow and correct me if I'm putting words into your mouth here.
Or not.
That they're going to be putting maybe the adjuncted, the other non-traditional styles as those guest taps from other breweries, other places. Is that correct for me to say? For again, correct. Your impression, right, and like you said, Marco, as well. As things go, correct.
Their stamp is traditional beer.
It's going to be traditional beer. I'm not going to say done exceptionally well because that's a trademark infringement on another local brewery.
But how do
they're
we
going to
know?
be doing.
They haven't made it. There's not even...
Sure.
The demolition's not even done. I don't
No,
want to talk...
I believe they said demo was done. Demo's done.
I have faith in the brewer
Sure.
because
Plug their phone and let's call them. Let's go conference call.
Brian's gonna be here. I have faith in the brewer because he knows what he's doing. I know him, and
We'll
and
do a
he,
bonus with
he
Brian.
brews at Mad Tree, but they want to produce exceptional beer, as does anybody. Well, okay, we'll wait and drink it,
Yeah.
and you'll know,
Yeah.
right? So.
But they're keeping some non-traditional styles via the guest taps that they're going to keep until, I don't even want to say until, but if they decide they want to completely get rid of guest taps and have all of their own beer, that's going to be, they have plenty of taps to do as much as they want to do in big or small batches.
Their 15-barrel system is big enough to fill out their tap list once they get rolling.
And that's the
I mean,
original Rivertown system, right? That they bought? I think they said. Yeah. Maybe not. Listen to the episode, find
Everything's
out
sour.
where they're getting this from. Something that we already sort of touched on with producer David and all that is that I'd written down, what kind of stamp does BC's want to put on the Cincinnati craft beer community? And I think that we already touched on that as far as they want to do traditional styles. They want to bring just that, bring player one into the fold, basically.
Well, I think what's really cool too is when talking about they talked about the connections they have in the industry because of how long they've been
Doing what they're doing,
doing what they're doing, and just the fans and supporters of craft beer. It is great to hear the story that they had an interaction with Mad Tree and the help that Mad Tree has given them, which is great. And they do touch the surface of some of the interactions that could be positive or not positive necessarily in the industry, and I think that it's going to be okay for them, and as far as interactions in the industry, I think it's going to be just fine. I think everybody's going to rally around to support them to see this business change into what it is going to be. Yes, producer David.
Does this mean they can't have blocks anymore?
So if you're a producer, well,
That's an excellent question. I don't know. Okay, so they've tried to sell to other breweries in the area. So I believe that they shout out to Blocks. Cheers to
everybody
Blocks.
cheers to Blocks.
Woo! Raise your glasses. Thank
Sponsor
you
for
so much
this
for
live
sponsoring our
podcast.
1 year. So amazing. I still can't get over it. It's awesome. The big block of blocks that we have sitting here is fantastic. To kind of wrap up a little bit on this episode, they did touch on distribution, their plans for that. They did touch on where their brew house is located or will be located.
The other thing is, I wanted to hear about what was this Wet Willie's food or
No.
that's going
They're
next there?
Popeyes. Popeyes chicken is no. So in the space that's being constructed where their Mason Brew House taproom is, Walt's Hitching Post. Wet Willie's Shrimp
to the
and Grits
Hitching Post.
is going to be the food of BC's brewing company.
Never heard of it.
May or may not be true. You got to listen to Cincy Brewcast to find out. They are hoping for an early
do you need, a
2023
lighter?
open. Thank you. And yeah, that is subject to change. So definitely keep an eye on all of BC's social media pages for updates as the year progresses and as we find out more and more about BC's brewing company and what they're going to be doing.
Yeah,
Market.
and let me know if you need a full-time bartender.
All right, there we go. Anything else on this episode before we get on to shift beers?
No, I think that's it, because I think at some point that producer Brian is going to show up, and we're going to have to do
A
bonus episode.
Correct.
Why don't we take a break? Let's pass out some blocks.
You need a new beer. I need to see if I need another beer, and we will be right back, guys. All right, we're not getting started quite yet, but I want to shout out my mom for showing up tonight.
Thanks,
to our live
Mom.
show. Thank you, Mom.
Thank
Everyone,
you, Mom.
give a shout out to my mom because she's awesome. She supported us from the beginning, and I really appreciate her showing up here tonight.
Moms
and,
are great. I wouldn't
moms
be
are
here
great.
without my mom.
I wouldn't be here without my mom. We are back once again. Woo!
Yes.
Thank you to everyone who has stuck around for our final podcast recap of the night.
Also, thank you to Blocks Spiked Ice
Hell yeah.
for sponsoring the pod tonight.
Yep, I was just
our
about to
1 year
say.
anniversary.
I think we have given blocks to everyone here.
We did.
Some
Everyone
people
of
put
legal
blocks in
drinking
their
age.
beers.
I want
Yes,
to make that
of legal
clear.
drinking age. Absolutely. Marco, you have a new beer in your glass. What do you have?
It's the same thing I had before, the
Premium pills.
Pilsner.
All
Yep.
right. I'm doing something a little different. I got Mad Tree's Sway, their strawberry guava vodka soda, but I added a strawberry blocks to it.
Hell yeah.
And it is really, really good. All right, so one podcast to go.
Okay.
It is one of the most fun podcasts that we have to recap.
Yeah.
It is Shift Beers, and it is episode 90, Micro Goes Macro.
Okay.
All right, so the entire crew was there. So you had everyone from Josh, Beth, Chris, and the Button.
Yep.
Everybody was there. And what they mean by Micro Goes Macro is microbreweries or smaller breweries, what some could consider craft breweries that were bought out by the big guys, AB InBev and such.
Right.
So I will go ahead and just say that the breweries that they brought to the table, Stone, New Belgium, Platform, Dogfish Head, which are all very good. Although I'll be honest, I have not bought any Platform beer since they sold out.
Yeah, I didn't
I
either.
missed their small batch IPA series when they were still craft / micro / whatever you would want to call it. Let's see, the drunk line. They always shout out their drunk line, which we are going to shout out as well. 804-445.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
My bad.
that's all right. That's all right.
It's high
We're doing
five
this live.
beer.
It's high five. Let's take 3.
Okay.
804-445-2337 or 804
High
five beer. Woo! So give them a call only if you are drunk, because if you are not drunk and you call the drunk line, holy crap, will they not give you ever-ending just misery for it. Though they did post their very first call to the drunk line.
They did.
Which was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And if you listen to Craft Parenting Podcasts, you may have gotten a sneak peek on that.
That's right.
It was fantastic. One of the things that they talked about during drinking, which actually lasted less than 20 minutes.
Right.
Very, very proud of them. They did
They
good.
tightened that up.
Drinking. Drink. Did I add a G to the end of drink? to their what are you drinking a segment, fine, we will all drink to that.
Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen. Brittany with an I, is that better or worse than Brittany with a Y?
Or Brian with a
Y or an I? Or Kroger with or a thom? THOM, I see. G off?
Yeah, what is it?
Or Kroger with or without the S. Which one is better, worse, right, wrong? All we know is Chris's wife is amazing and she has gorgeous feet. Has she sent you the pictures?
Oh, yeah. Oh, multiple.
Oh my God, I'm telling you. So good. So good.
Completely unsolicited.
Oh, so...
Yes. Yes,
Hey, you know, I will say it is better than the joke that was made about Noam and his children during our first live episode.
We drove a couple of people out.
We drove a couple people out with that one. If you don't know, look back in our catalog and listen to that one. It was amazing. So because Josh from Shift Beers is here, I can let him know this to his face. Natalie Portman, vegan, not vegetarian, and you know that because she tells you every single time you say anything, she is vegan. But I did, yes. When you were talking about Thor and all that good stuff, yeah. Or did he? Maybe I am making this up. You'll have to listen to their episode 2. She is very swole, so good on her. There was a really interesting debate, or I don't want to call it a debate, but a conversation about what microbrewery is a weird word, but in the scope of AB in what is that? Why is it asking my phone to approve your phone to? I don't know. I did. It's done. I think we'll find out. I'm not a. Oh wait, I am an IT person. Oh, we have some Vitas going on here. So this will be our background music while we talk about this episode. Everyone here is doing the Vitas, and it is amazing.
You need to look for the video.
The video of this is ridiculous.
This can't be real.
So they played a song during this episode that I've known about for years, and it's ridiculous.
They're not going to like this one on YouTube.
No, they're definitely not going to like this one on YouTube. We'll get demonetized. Not that we're monetized. It doesn't matter. But so look up Vitas, Vitas on the YouTubes. This guy is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Can't be real.
But he is. That's the thing. All right, so they had a conversation about who is next as far as the smaller breweries being potentially bought out by the bigger breweries.
Yeah.
Totally TAFs. With the contract brewing that they're doing, totally TAFs.
Actually,
maybe.
As much as people say it's not going to happen, I mean, just from the way the landscape is, Rheingeist. They were employee-owned, just like New Belgium.
True.
And the employees decided we can make money by selling out.
It's not exactly, but I know what you're saying. So anyone from Rheingeist who listens to this, speaking of, where is our Rheingeist rep? I have beer for him. This is twice, 2 weeks in a row, that he has stood us up. I am very... Do you need the volume up again?
Oh, yeah, I was...
I tried to
was
censor
comedic timing,
you.
but... Anyway.
All right, so we're going to have this in the background during the rest of the Shift Beers recap. I am going to say the radio filter that they do makes it very hard to figure out the burps. It is just enough to where I'm not sure if burps are happening or not when that amazing radio filter is put on for their... I do need a clicker. If I had a clicker... I was... Okay, so I was...
That's
okay,
what it
okay.
was.
So for everyone wondering what the weird laughing is about... I get
knew
a
it, 'cause
I get a
you had her
package.
address.
I get an Amazon package delivered with another Amazon package because I ordered too
Oh!
much. Shit. Hey, talk to him. Talk to him. I was wondering, I'm looking at this, and so Marco and I had talked about, well, okay, let me go back a couple steps. There was an episode of Shift Beers. There was an episode of Shift Beers where they were saying that, Julia's probably driving down the road with one of those clickers in her hand, counting the burps. And it's like, no, I listen at work like a responsible person and make check marks in my notebook.
It's like using the restroom. You got to do that on the clock.
Exactly.
You can't do that off the clock.
Exactly.
I mean, come on now.
So the other day, I get an Amazon, like any good American, I get like 15 million Amazon deliveries every other day that,
America.
My Josh is like, what did you order now? And I'm like, we need it. It's stuff we need. Well, there was another box that had...
Amazon sent me a picture that was delivered and it was stacked.
Yeah, it was stacked on other boxes. Yes. And I'm like, and so I didn't think any... Yes, and I'm like, okay, they put one item in one box and one item in another box. No big deal. They do that all the time. So I opened the bigger box first, okay, it's stuff I ordered, and I'm like, well, then what's this smaller box? And it's one of those hand counter clickers, and I'm like, okay, I know Shift Beer. My first thought was I drunk ordered it because I've done that before. And I'm like, I'm looking through my Amazon order history going, when did I order this? And I'm like, I didn't. I'm like, who the hell sent this? And Josh is like, I bet it was Shift Beers. And I'm like, who at Shift Beers has my address? So I was very, very confused. But now we know. And it is amazing. So every burp, you guys, our listeners probably can't hear this, but there have been audible burps happening throughout the show that I'm holding the clicker up and counting them. We're at 8 so far. And apparently Shift Beers did get Marco and I clickers, and producer David, I haven't seen the other one. So Marco,
Julia's is bigger.
This has turned into a competition between the gnarly gnome, Cincy Brewcast, and Shift Beers, who bought Truth Beer and Podsequences, the better clicker. Mine has 4, so I guess 9,999.
Yeah.
Same. Okay. Ooh.
Same.
Ooh.
I'm maxing that bitch.
So I'll be honest, Shift Beers, I apologize because I thought this came from Shift Beers. So I apologize for ruining your gift to us because I don't know. I know. This is why I love doing what we do so much. So we now have multiple clickers. Now you can check us.
Please.
Absolutely. Shift Beers recap. Let's go ahead and keep going with this because we don't have a whole lot. Oh my God, I hope some of this is being picked up on the mics because it is absolutely amazing. It is the best thing that has ever happened to me in our entire year of podcasting. All right, so we already we kind of mentioned who we think is next, and then we got into clickers, the radio filter making it hard to hear the burps that are happening. I miss Platform's small batch IPA series, so fuck you, AB and Bev, because you've ruined Platform for me for all of time.
I didn't get into Platform all that much.
Yeah.
No, I mean because
I really only like their IPA series. So.
Some of the biggest things they had that were hype were sours, and that's just not my deal.
There are enough good breweries in Cincinnati. We don't need Platform. Kind of going back to more of Shift Beers. we need a new segment. Ship beers. Beth's fashion tips.
Beth's fashion
we
tips.
need more. So if Josh is not going to give us regular Twisted Tea tips, we need Beth's fashion tips. Because apparently her fashion, not frequently enough. I need more. So there is one last thing we need to mention about the Shift Beers recap. And
Okay.
if you've listened to our show before, you know exactly what it is.
Yeah, things are coming off the rails here.
So we don't need to tell you what it is. I will say that in episode 90 of Shift Beers, 57 burps, which is 114 ounces,
7.1.
7.1 pints of your favorite beverage during this episode of Shift Beers. And there we go. We got Vitas back on the pod. This is another really fun episode. They're all really fun episodes.
Yeah, they're really fun.
I love listening to Shift Beers and just all the absolute nonsense that they happen. I love the absolute chaos that they create for our show when they're here in person.
Yeah,
there is
for sure.
nothing better.
It's a blast.
Outside of that is our entire podcast recap. But we have, before we close, our 1-year podcast anniversary episode. Woo!
Hey, 1 year.
Thank you. We asked for questions from the Twitterverse and the Instagramverse. We said, are there any questions that you have for us?
We're going to keep Vitas
We
going,
had
or we're
one.
gonna send Vitas.
A single question. Joe, a teacher named Mr.
All the Joes.
Kemphouse,
So many
all the
Joes.
So many Joes. This was an amazing question. I had to think about this really hard.
I'm glad you did.
Because you didn't?
Not as hard as you did.
Not as hard.
Probably.
Yeah. See, I took notes and
No, they're all
I
up
see
here,
nothing.
Julia, right in between.
So Joe asked, and this is a great question. Out of all of the shows you review regularly, so some podcasts are not on my list because it's not a regular thing. If you had to pick one episode of each to sum up that show or to recommend their show for new listeners, what episode would it be? This also includes our show, Truth, Beer, and Consequences.
Yes, it did.
That's a phenomenal question. So, Joe,
Wonderful.
Joe, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Hey,
Thank you.
everybody.
And thank you for this question because it really made me go back. And some of my responses are for episodes prior to Marco and I starting this podcast, so we did not
That makes
cover
sense.
them. But I'll go over my list, and then we'll kind of go back and forth
Sure.
with that.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
we're
ready.
we're gonna start with the Cincinnati Brewcast.
Drink.
Oh my God, a sway with the blocks is so goddamn good. So Cincy Brewcast, for me, it was season 6, episode 46, which aired March 15th of 2021. So prior to us doing the show, a refocused life with Dogberry and rediscovering what's
Oh my
important.
God. I almost.
This-
I think I might have shed a tear
Yeah,
during that.
I absolutely did.
Like, and I'm not joking.
Right. No, 100%. This was an episode that it touched on both the importance of Dogberry and craft beer in Cincinnati, as well as like all
Somebody being
really figuring
totally
out what's
wrecked.
important. Yes.
Somebody's whole life being wrecked by COVID-19 and their perspective coming out of that.
Right.
And that podcast was, it stood out. It
did.
And it was, it definitely was something that if you haven't listened to, you should listen to. And maybe it would make you feel about supporting Dogberry in a way that you wouldn't have realized otherwise.
I mean, all of the Gnomes episodes are important because Cincinnati Craft Beer needs to be shouted from the rooftops, but this episode stuck with me and really, again, it touched on the importance of local, of supporting local, and how when you go into a local brewery, the beers that you buy isn't just, I'm just buying a beer. It supports someone's livelihood. It pays their bills. And the things happening in their lives outside of the brewery, you have no idea. And no idea how those day-to-day events impact the beers that they make. And this was, I don't know, this episode encompassed everything. And I think if you needed to be introduced to Cincy Brewcast, this episode touched on absolutely everything. So that's the one that I would recommend.
Good shout, Julia.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and bring us out of the tough just place that podcast puts you in, but it's for a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say my answer is Oktoberfest Sonder last year.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Everyone was having a good time that night.
Gnome.
That was...
Gnome, Jangle, so many people in the brewing industry, just having fun, drinking early.
Mm-hmm. And for a long time.
Yeah,
early and often.
That's the way you celebrate Oktoberfest.
Yes.
And you got to hear a lot of brewery owners, people that work at breweries, and
50% of which remember it.
Yeah.
Not everyone remembered that episode, even if they were on that episode.
Yeah.
They had beers.
That's where that phrase came from. We had
beers. It was amazing.
It was really fantastic. So great job to Cincy Brewcast.
Yes.
And you can, just like we talked about Uli last week.
Yeah.
About being very modest, that he paved the way for breweries in that state to come along. Gnome is very modest about saying, look, you guys would have a podcast without me or not. And the truth is, I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Thank you.
So leading right into that, the next one on my list was Sonder Stories, which I know that they are incredibly busy, but it's been a while since we've had an episode, so hopefully we see more from them. But if not, listen to their entire catalog. It's amazing. I had a couple because I really couldn't decide which one was that I felt was kind of the episode to introduce Sonder Stories to someone with. I thought about the Oktoberfest episode that they did.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to say that the two that I decided on, well, I guess three. Chapter 71, which was Chris from Second Chance Kicks.
Oh,
because that really focused on their support of the community and making the greater Cincinnati area a better place.
Yeah.
But also any chapter that they did with Olivia from Kings Island, which is chapter 60 and 66.
Totally agree.
Olivia was the most amazing guest. I almost did Country Boy because that was an amazing episode as well. But I think Olivia took their episodes to that next level with the play that they had in between everything.
I think, and there were some of the funny intro highlights that came out of the episodes that she was in with with the Sonder team. So
I'm still waiting for them to release a beer with like a salad emoji.
Oh yeah.
That only people that listen to the podcast will understand.
I absolutely agree. So
Yeah.
I second that suggestion with Olivia.
All right. Let's move on to Brewcast Happy Hour, newer podcast, but definitely a regular in a rotation for their season 2. I picked episode 3 with Fritz Maytag because that was just a lot of fun to listen to. And also hearing Fritz kind of shit on Urban Artifact and sour beers was amazing. I don't like those sour beers, and I don't get it. But I thought that episode 3, again, there are only 8 episodes in this season, so listen to all of them. Listen to the entire season 2 and season 1 as well. But if you had to pick one episode, I would say episode 3 of season 2 with Fritz.
I would say recency biased. I would pick Uli, the episode with Uli, just because right from the get-go, right from the bat, is like, okay, we're in for a good time. He just the story was crazy.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah.
About his brother saying, "Oh, my brother will buy that brew house." And
ship this brewing equipment over overseas,
and I'm gonna
a state that can't even brew beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna brew in a state that's not legal, the whole banter, the whole way was fun and amazing, but also the close second for me, if I'm not picking your episode, was the the episode with the Smithsonian.
Oh, I almost said Teresa. No, Teresa McCullough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Teresa.
So that's my
That was a
that's
good
my
one, too.
second on that one.
All right. Hustle and Brews. I picked episode 17 with Delgardo's Cannoli Bar. Because
Yes.
that was an amazing episode. It was a hell of a lot of fun for them to record. You could tell. And it really focused a lot on, I feel like it really emphasized what Matt Damaris is doing with that podcast, with emphasizing a local business, a local entrepreneur, and even more so than that, how that local entrepreneur is trying to help support the community around him. And
Yeah.
that was my pick for Hustle and Brews.
That's a great episode. I truly enjoyed it, and I also followed up with Matt a few times, who's the Cincy Brews traveler and also a hustler baby.
And a friend of the show.
I followed up with him to see how he's doing, and apparently he's doing very, very well. A lot of new things came his way after that podcast, so that's fantastic. I'm going to pick the episode with Michael Amon from
Medina? Yes, that was a
because
good one as
he
well.
is a friend of
That was my
ours.
runner-up. Absolutely, he is.
He's a friend of ours, and
I will say I like how he's not just Michael, he's Michael from Medina. Like
Yeah.
that is his identity right now.
yeah, when it's your business.
It
There you
absolutely. That was a good one too. Still sticking with Matt or the Brews Traveler, the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast. I had episode 10, Alematic Artisan Ales.
Yeah, they really
That was
got
a lot
into
of
that
fun.
one.
I believe that was the first episode of theirs that we recapped because we poked a bit of fun at saying that they really enjoyed the Little Nas X theme
Yeah, I
to the
remember
brewery. And that's where Matt told his wife, the Wolf, that's not what we said. And his wife had to explain.
The point of the
True
show
that.
is that there's some. For anybody who doesn't know, not everything we say is accurate.
We want you
okay?
to listen to those shows to find out the truth about what we say. But yeah, so I picked Alematic Artisan Ales for the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast as my episode to introduce someone to that podcast.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I think, as much as I try to distance myself from it, I think I'm gonna have to pick when we were in West Virginia,
All
and
right, all right.
that's all I gotta say.
All right, we will. Marco, I am so glad you came back from that trip. Dangles!
Yeah.
So glad Dangles came back. All right, let's talk about what I think would be a good intro episode to the Craft Parenting Podcast. And Caroline! And Joe.
We want to do it again? Ready?
All right, everyone here. 1, 2, 3.
Caroline!
I love it. I love it. I love it. I picked episode 50, the one where Bachfest returns. And the reason for that episode is it was an amazing combination of both the fun that they had at Bachfest and the educational piece that they are so good at with explaining the Bach style, how it came about, and how Cincinnati really embraces it.
What was the podcast? Which episode was it where their friend was talking about all the Christmas parties they throw? Which one was that?
Oh, shoot. Yeah,
Oh.
what episode was that, Caroline? They drank so many beers, and there was an episode. We'll have to look this up.
So that was the one
episode-
that was the one I would pick. Is that
Okay,
when
okay.
you had a guest and it was about the Christmas parties.
absolutely amazing Christmas parties that we needed an invite to. So
Yeah,
make that
and
happen, Caroline.
they were trying to top themselves with the biggest trees
Yes.
and
That was a very
all
fun
the
one.
all the cocktails and the little drinks and all these other things. I mean, for me that was probably, if I was going to say, hey, go listen to Craft Parenting Pod, that's the one I would.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. And shift beers.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna let you go first on this one, Marco,
Okay.
because all the episodes are amazing.
I'm gonna
I had
pick-
trouble with that one.
Gas station singles #1.
That's a good
Fretboard.
one. That's a good one. I liked the one when you had Gail.
Oh, Gail was amazing with the flubby
That's-
wubbles.
Gail, because
The Gail episode, that was awesome. That
Because-
was really good.
I mean, when you make jokes
About someone's son.
about having sexual relations with someone's son in front of them. I mean, come on now.
Does it get any better than that?
It
doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. Yeah.
Every dude at the table wanting to do things to your son. I mean, come on now.
The walkie-talkies.
Yes,
that's right. That's right. Chris
For
came
me,
across the walkie-talkies.
That's the one I was. Hey, if you listen to this one, and if you like it, then listen to the rest.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my first pick.
Okay, that's fair. I picked a different episode. And someone else here shouted it out. Episode 30 with Jeff from Lagunitas.
Yeah, Jeff from Lagunitas.
That was awesome. Jeff is still one of my heroes from your show. My God.
Yeah, if we ever get out to Lagunitas, I mean, we gotta
we need to look
Jeff
up. You need to call them back and find out if Jeff still works there. No, jeez. Hey, we are not taking 3 hours to record this show tonight. That is a shit beers thing. That is not a truth beer pod thing. But to oh jeez. But to round out this question, what episode of Truth, Beer, and Podsequences would you recommend?
This is a tough one for me.
All of them
all
is
of
a
them.
perfect answer.
This is a tough one for me because I feel like, so being the 1 year podcast anniversary,
I feel like this one, yeah.
I feel like we are always trying to seek to be better. And we recorded, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 pods before we ever
Test
released
episodes,
one.
right.
Test episodes. And then we released one, and I felt like we've tried to be better. Now, whether we were or not is up to you. But we've tried to be better every single episode. I think there are some things that stick out in some of the episodes that I feel are funny or informative, and so that's tough for me. I think the podcast that we put out where I said that producer David.
Producer
Go
David,
ahead.
you have a statement for the class?
Yeah, and I know people can't hear me, but so I got to listen to some of those previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You did get to listen to some of the test episodes.
-1, -2, whatever it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything is awesome.
Oh, the Everything is Awesome negative episode that we didn't
Yeah.
air because it was a test.
That was when I figured out what this show was, and the humor of the show, and the idea behind the show, and the
So that's when the idea of the show, the humor, everything came together for you was, okay. So have we been able to continue with that mark, like from our first actual published episode? That was the peak of it? Okay. So we've gone
So we
downhill.
peaked-
Okay.
We actually peaked
so
before you got to listen.
All right. Well, note taken. All right. So maybe one of these days I will actually edit and release one of those.
fun, like, bonus episodes for maybe some kind of supporters.
Yeah. So
Okay, all right.
that bit itself, the Everything is Awesome bit, it's not dead. I just haven't found the right place
for
to
it.
bring it back.
All right.
That's what's so fun is that it was perfect right there.
Right.
Yes. All right.
So I think for me, one of the things that makes me laugh every time I think about it is when I recapped Joe from Craft Parenting Pod.
Oh my
going
God,
to,
yes.
to
their
Bavaria.
trip to Hungary. He almost killed me. So I was laughing so hard.
And the thing is that
because I was not expecting it.
it's to anybody who listens to this show regularly, if you think that I practice impressions, you're wrong. If you think that if you think that I actually script out jokes, you're wrong. And you're giving me too much credit.
Everything we do is off the cuff.
You're giving me too much credit, and which nobody should. But for me, I thought that was pretty funny once it came out.
I couldn't decide, so I should have written that one down. But that definitely is probably our funniest episode. And I even left in like 5 minutes of me just gasping for breath, trying to stop laughing because re-listening to it to edit, I couldn't stop laughing. Like Josh, my Josh is looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Why are you crying? Because I was laughing. I don't know. I think that for our show, there's not really a best episode to listen to because they all recap that previous week's show, so everyone's going to hit differently because some of the podcasts that we cover. What does Morgan Freeman think? That's a good question. So can we get Morgan Freeman on the line to just throw out a random episode number, something between 1 and 52, for people to listen to if they've never listened to us before, yet somehow stumbled upon our live show.
Let's see. Hello. This is Morgan Freeman. If you start at episode 1 of Truth, Beer, and Consequences, you need to give them 50 weeks until you understand you probably don't need to listen to 50 more weeks.
What does Liam Neeson think? Yes. Okay, Liam Neeson. Should people listen to all 52 episodes of Truth, Beer, and Consequences?
No.
What? Okay, wait a minute. Gilbert got... If you...
Truth, Beer, and Consequences was walking on a beach. They found a magic lamp. They rubbed the lamp, and a genie popped out. The genie said, I can grant you one wish.
Chris, where did your kids go? Oh, there they are. They were behind you. All of a sudden, I look around, and Chris's kids had disappeared, and I'm like, oh, God, where did they go? They just... You're taproom parenting? Okay, cool. They were directly behind you, out of my line of sight. I got scared for a minute that we lost the children.
I have a very particular set of skills.
All right, we have
if you don't
no
listen
more...
to Truth, Beer, and Consequences,
Oh, my God.
I will find you.
He's still going.
I will hunt you down,
Do I need to hit the mute button?
and I will make you listen
No.
to Shift Beers. Because they're a better podcast.
Guys, thank you so much for helping us to hit our 1-year podcast anniversary, episode 52. Thank you to everyone who showed up at BC's Bottle Lodge in Montgomery today to cheer along with us on this journey. Thank you to Blocks for giving us a big-ass box of blocks. We are going to pop a bottle of Prosecco and shove a bunch of blocks into those glasses as soon as we're done recording to celebrate.
Around.
So everyone that's here, if you want some Prosecco,
we're gonna have the
thank you to Blocks for providing that.
Thank you, Producer Ben.
Thank you, Producer Ben.
Pop a Prosecco, throw it in a pitcher, put blocks in it, and everyone's going to get pitted.
We are all going to get pitted tonight.
Blocks.
On a Tuesday
Blocks bought
night.
the Prosecco. So thank you, everyone. And Julie, I just want to say that when I contacted you after the Weekly Pint over a year ago, I truly appreciate you being open to meeting a stranger. And
a stranger from the internet.
A stranger from the internet and getting together and talking about creating a podcast about podcasts, which sounds extremely silly. And it is. And
but it's
that's
a lot
why
of fun.
We have fun with it.
Absolutely.
And we're going to keep doing it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone who's been with us for a year. Thank you to anyone who's come along just new. Thank you to everyone who showed up to BC's Bottle Lodge for the live 1-year podcast anniversary. And we will catch you soon.
All right, Marco, what are you going to be doing next Tuesday?
You know what?
I don't.
I am going to be listening to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts, and I'm going to get together with you here at BC's Bottle Lodge.
To talk about it? Cheers. I'll be here with you. Have a good one, guys.